Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MJR YouTube channel for today's podcast. Allow me today to dedicate my podcast to the sad news that Kenyans spend the better part of the day trying to come to terms with. It was our expectation as Kenyans that Raila Odinga will return back to Kenya alive and kicking, walking with his two legs to transact the political businesses, activities that were full on his tray in the office. But that was never to be, as today we were saddened with the news of his person. But this comes barely after many days of speculation about his death. And it is for that reason that I am doing this podcast today. I have been doing many podcasts about Raila Odinga's trip outside Kenya. And I've never talked about his death, despite the fact that many people have alluded and speculated rumors out there that Raila Odinga was dead. Until today, when the family, the government, and all sources confirmed that indeed Raila Odinga passed on. Even in India, where he died, it was a breaking news today.
കൂത്താട്ടുകുളത്തെത്തിയ മുൻ കെനിയൻ പ്രധാനമന്ത്രി റെയ്ല ഒഡിംഗ അന്തരിച്ചു. നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ കൂത്താട്ടുകുളത്ത് 6 ദിവസം മുമ്പാണ് വന്നത്. കൂത്താട്ടുകുളം ശ്രീധരീയത്തിൽ കഴിഞ്ഞ ദിവസം മകളോടൊപ്പം എത്തിയതായിരുന്നു. ഹൃദയാഘാതത്തെ തുടർന്നാണ് അന്ത്യം. അർജുൻ മട്ടന്നൂരുണ്ട് കൂടുതൽ വിവരങ്ങളുമായി. അർജുൻ മട്ടന്നൂർ 80 വയസ്സായിരുന്നു. 5 വർഷത്തോളം കെനിയ ഭരിച്ചിരുന്ന പ്രധാനമന്ത്രിയാണ്. നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ ചികിത്സയ്ക്ക് വന്നതാണ്. ഇവിടെ വെച്ചാണ് സംഭവം നടന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. എപ്പോഴാണ് മരണം സംഭവിച്ചത് അർജുൻ മട്ടന്നൂർ?
ഡോക്ടർ അരുൺകുമാർ, ഇന്ന് രാവിലെയാണ് കൂത്താട്ടുകുളം ശ്രീധരീയത്തിൽ വെച്ച് മുൻ കെനിയൻ പ്രധാനമന്ത്രിയായ റെയ്ല ഒഡിംഗയുടെ മരണം സ്ഥിരീകരിച്ചത്. ഹൃദയാഘാതത്തെ തുടർന്നാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ അന്ത്യം സംഭവിച്ചത്. മകളുടെ ചികിത്സാർത്ഥമാണ് അദ്ദേഹം വീണ്ടും കൂത്താട്ടുകുളം ശ്രീധരീയത്തിലേക്ക് എത്തിയത്. ഏതാണ്ട് ഒരു 3 വർഷം മുൻപ് അദ്ദേഹവും മകളും കൂത്താട്ടുകുളം ശ്രീധരീയത്തിലേക്ക് എത്തുകയും
CNN, Al Jazeera, local media houses all broadcasted this sad news, which Kenyans up to now could not fathom, including the president himself. None of us had enough words or the courage to express this news. Everyone was shocked. Everyone was paralyzed when we learned about the sudden death of former Prime Minister, ODM party leader, Raila Odinga. I have listened to his sister, Ruth Odinga, who was with him in India and up to the last moment when he was dying, being interviewed in one of the radio stations, KBC radio station Mayenga, which broadcast in Luo vernacular language. And Ruth confirmed to Kenyans that indeed Raila Odinga passed on today at 9:30 Indian time, which is around 7 a.m. Kenyan time. And Raila Odinga did not collapse as many have speculated. Raila Odinga was just on his routine walk in the morning when he suddenly felt unwell and uneasy. Then he peacefully sat down, and then they called an ambulance. Remember, this happened not within the hospital premises, because according to Ruth, Raila Odinga had been discharged and they were to come back to Kenya tomorrow. And when he was taking his routine walk, then he felt uneasy. He sat down, then they called for ambulance, which rushed him to the hospital. Raila was working at the lodge where he spent the night. So they were preparing to travel back to the country tomorrow but that did not take place. So the issue of his collapse was never there. Number two, you see now, there were rumors that some days last week there were presence of heavy security within Lee Funeral Home. And this is the time when Kenyans started speculating that Raila Odinga was dead. That is a lie. Raila Odinga's death happened just today, and both the family and the government confirmed that. Nothing could take place in Kenya. No government activity, no, even the events that were planned to take place in Siaya, Sitiko, could not kick on because the death of Raila Amolo Odinga. Questions are being asked that now, what about the future of Kenyan politics? Because Raila Odinga somehow was the definer of the direction in which Kenyan politics will go. And even at the time of his death, he was still at the center of Kenyan politics. Now, nobody knows the future of Orange Party. Nobody knows the future of the government retaining this seat of presidency. Raila Odinga was highly was a key figure in President William Ruto's re-election. He was expected to inject a lot of energy, support, and the human resource which is required for Ruto's win in 2027. But now, as God has planned that Raila Odinga was not to see 2027, he has gone, he is absent, he is silent. He will never be here again, either to campaign for Ruto or to lead ODM. So, what about these leaders who for a long time have been depending on Raila Odinga's name to succeed or to win their various positions? So I want to tell you that do not be worried. You know, maybe the death of Raila Odinga could also open a way or doors to many leaders will crop up. People are worried about the Luo community. This is not the first leader who is dying among the Luo community. Even his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, at the time of his death, he never installed Raila Odinga as his successor. He had James Sorengo as his preferred successor. He had Michael Kijana Wamalwa as preferred party chairperson after his death. But those ones went the way they went, and Raila Odinga emerged. So even right now, a leader will just emerge. We've seen communities which people thought that were left orphan. When Moi left the stage after his retirement, there was no Kalenjin who had been prepared to take over from him. Not Nicholas Biwott, not Enrico Sgei, not even Gideon Moi's son. Then William Ruto emerged. When Uhuru Kenyatta left the stage, people had been worried about Mount Kenya. But right now, Mount Kenya leadership is taking shape. Mulembe Nation, we've seen after the death of Masinde Muliro, Martin Shikuku, Mdamba Mdavadi, Michael Kijana Wamalwa, they are still having leaders. So the issue of how Luo community will survive is not a question. There is no vacuum. The loss which now the Luo community will have to endure is the glue that united this community, who was Raila Odinga. And it will take time at least to find one who will fit his shoes. But there are leaders. There are people like Professor Peter Nyang'nyong. There are people like James Sorengo. There are people like Uchilo Ayako. There are many leaders who can still give the community the direction. The question is, who amongst them will now take over? We saw when Raila Odinga was going for AUC seat, he had appointed Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o to be the interim party leader of ODM, and he acted until Raila came home. The future of Orange Party now depends on the current leadership. The direction they will take or how they will transact political businesses will determine whether ODM will survive after 2027 or not. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Do not forget to subscribe, share the video, drop your opinion on the comment section regarding my analysis today. Thank you, and may God bless you.